France won the World Cup, and so this Euro Cup, pretty much like every team's trying to beat France out because they won the World Cup 2 years ago,
Okay.
or no, was that 3 years ago? 2018? Yeah, 2018. It's every 4 years.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, World Cup's every 4 years, man.
Okay. Just like the Olympics. That's crazy.
Pretty much. I mean, these guys are all. I mean, pretty much these guys are getting paid like millions of dollars every year on their regular soccer clubs. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like Ronaldo, Leo Messi, Benzema, Antoine Griezmann.
Wait, Messi is still playing? Isn't that guy in his 40s? And didn't he start when he was like 16?
I don't think he's playing in the Euro Cup. I think he played. What does he play for? Argentina? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's an Argentinian, and he plays for Argentina. And no, I don't even know if they're in the Euro Cup. So I know they were in the World Cup in 2018, and he did play. But I don't know. I mean, Ronaldo's 37. So,
wow.
I mean,
Okay.
yeah, he's still crushing it. I mean, he got 2 goals today. So, well, because of the penalty kicks. But either way, what's going on, Roman? How you doing today, man?
Man, what a freaking stinking busy day. It was like ridiculous. Stinking busy.
Did it smell?
Yeah, quite putrid.
You know what is pretty smelly? Kombucha. It stinks really bad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it stinks.
The kombucha that my brother used to make was like bomb. So he would like just make the straight up kombucha, and then we would mix it with like a cranberry raspberry juice usually, and let it like season a little bit. And man, that stuff was like baller. Smelled good, tasted good. Oh, so good.
Yeah, I mean, it is vegan, and I know you're on the vegan diet, Roman, so. I love how it says like kombucha is a fermented tea that has a naturally occurring alcohol. Like, really, is it that important to like note that? Like,
yeah.
I'm really tipsy right now, and I'm only halfway through, so.
I mean, if you were like in recovery or something like that, you probably still wouldn't want to drink it. It's like 0.4%. Like, it's so low.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, I'm a regular alcoholic drinker, and this, I mean, maybe like what you're saying is probably more of an effect on someone, but like it doesn't make me want to like chug a beer or take a shot.
Yeah.
Like it's like honestly quite the opposite.
Yeah.
It's like I want to chug like a bottle of water afterwards, pretty much.
Oh yeah, no, I feel like it's one of those drinks you kind of like want to sit down and sip, because like it is at least the kombucha I've had that my brother's made is like very bubbly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also too, it's kind of, I mean, it says 12 grams of added sugar, so it's kind of sweet too, because they probably want to like throw off like the natural taste that kombucha has. So I don't know.
I think that's part of the natural kombucha making process, because what ends up happening is you have to feed the SCOBY. And
yeah, the SCOBY.
The SCOBY, and the way what the SCOBY does is it like feeds off the carbohydrates, and it breaks them down into their constituent parts. So that is one of the things that gives it like the fizziness. You can add like CO2 into it to make it more fizzy, but like it's crazy fizzy on its own. Like my brother's like shaking one like on accident, just running down the stairs like, oh, do you want to have this kombucha? Like, because he'd be so excited in the morning. He like opened it up and just like sprayed all over the ceiling. Like,
oh yeah. I shook it up because there's some like remnants on the bottom, and I was doing one of these. I opened it, it sprayed like all over the couch and my legs. So.
Yep. So it is carbonated, and that's and the sugar is added so that the SCOBY can like do what it's supposed to do and mature and like digest the sugar, and part of the byproduct is carbon dioxide.
I mean if you think about it, it's kind of like alcohol. I mean, they ferment it too, and like they let it digest too, because the fact that there's natural sugars in it too as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And on the Gainz Podcast, we're gonna go over on how to brew your own brew.
No, seriously.
I honestly, I do want to get a Scooby.
SCOBY. It's like
Scoby. I want to get one on.
culture of bacteria and yeast.
Yeah, I just want jars of them like laying around the garage, so it looks kind of like I just have body parts in like jars. So like someone walks past my garage, they're like, what the hell are in those jars?
It feels so weird. It's like
It probably feels probably like more like a jellyfish would probably feel. I never touched one, but
yeah. Okay, so if you wanna kind of feel what a SCOBY feels like ball up some paper towel, soak it in water, and then just like drench it in some sort of like oily like fat, like a soybean oil or something, and then just like touch it. That's kind of what a SCOBY feels like. It's like so wet and like smooth at the same time and like slippery. It's very weird.
Yeah. But interesting. Yeah, I had to run to the store this earlier, and Sam wanted like a seltzer, and I was like, well, I'm gonna get myself something, so I got myself a kombucha. I don't really drink them too often, but it's just once in a while. It's nothing religiously, and they're pretty expensive. And I think like this brand specifically is expensive because of that.
Glass.
It's it's straight up glass. So I think you're pretty much paying for the bottle, and and probably the process of how to make kombucha is probably I don't know, labor intensive.
Yeah, they probably make it in massive vats though. So.
Yeah, but episode 82, we're talking about what seasoned lifters would tell their younger selves. First thing off the top of my head would be drink more kombucha. I mean, that's pretty much what?
Slug it back, baby.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing I tell myself back in like, when I was 16, 17 years old starting to lift. No, I'm just kidding.
Give me them carbs.
Yeah. Roman, well, why don't you start us off, buddy? What's like one thing you kind of want to go over, and then like I'll shoot out one thing, and then we'll kind of like briefly discuss it. There's probably a lot of things that we probably can talk about. Obviously in the time being, we'll probably go over as much as we can, and then if we want to add more, maybe in the future do this again, round 2, or whatnot. But Roman, what's like one thing you would want to tell yourself, if you wanted to go back in time and kind of change, control differently, or kind of go over with yourself?
Yeah, I'd say take your time. That's a big thing that, like, I see a lot of people doing that, and I find myself trying to do it too. Like, I'm trying to rush progressions, and it's like, why? Like, what good would it do? For example, like one of my goals, which like I was hoping to hit in this program, this like 12-week block, is to get 185 on incline, barbell incline for 8 reps, and it's a pretty slow and controlled eccentric, slight pause on the chest, and then an explosive concentric movement. So 185 by 8, and I was moving pretty quick. I got up to like 170 by 8 in like late April or something like that. So it was only like a few weeks in to the program, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna blast this. Since then, like I haven't hit that number again. I did some different movements because like my brother came up, and then I like reworked up on like form and like slowly like controlling like the eccentric portion, etc. So we're pretty much like a month and a half later, and the closest I've gotten to that, like building back up on progressions, is like 165 by 8. So even now, like I still try to like find myself like trying to force progressions. So maybe like in this time, I should have taken like more like down periods, more like deloads or like off sessions. Maybe not try to like rush to increase the volume as much. But that's like a huge piece of information. I think that could be like very valuable for people, just to when you like sit and you reflect on your athletic journey and your athletic experience. Like, why the rush? If you understand that you need to build in progressive overload over time, then like you'll get there eventually. And whenever you hit a snag, just look at the variables. Like, is your eating on point? Are you hitting like your protein target? Are you getting like Are you like carb friendly? Yes. Okay. Like, are you getting insufficient carb sources? And you don't have to weigh out all your carb sources, but like, do you have a legitimate like high carb source per meal for your like 3 to 6 to 7, 8 meals, whatever you do? Because that's like the standard like fare for bodybuilders. If you do intermittent fasting, that works too. Just understand that like there's some like you're gonna miss out on some gains potentially if you're only eating like 1 or 2 meals a day and you're eating in a time restricted window, meaning like 8 or less hours a day. Not that you can't get results, but you might have like slow results just because you're not maximizing the anabolic window, and that's totally fine because there's other benefits to that too, like potentially like longevity in life. So if you want to live longer, like maybe don't eat like a bodybuilder because that doesn't seem like it'll do the trick. But yeah, if you're like running into that roadblock and you're like, ticking off the boxes, the question is like, what can I do next? And like, you find that it's a volume thing, then increase volume. If you think it's an intensity thing, like one thing that I found that's successful, and that's why like I can't completely forego some like old school bodybuilding techniques and like tricks are I will like force certain progressions, which I think like it definitely has its time and its place. You can't do it all the time because I think you'd probably be like super fatigued. But with like pull-ups, for example, if I ever hit a pull-up plateau where like for a considerable amount of time, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, I'm not like progressing in a certain like pull-up schema that I have, I'll do partials at the end of my last set. So I'll just pull up as much as I can. It might only be like this much, and I'll just really try to get as much like tension as I can out of my back muscles, and I'll just exhaust them as much as I can, especially if it's my last like multi-joint back movement, especially for like horizontal back movements. And that's been something that's like it's always been able to eke out a progression the next week. I get an extra rep on my first set, whatever it might be. So yeah, I would say just in general, like try not to rush your progress in like whatever your fitness endeavor it is, whether it's like running like 100-meter dash, whether it's like some sort of lift in the gym, or some other like athletic endeavor. Just enjoy the process and take like the progressions as they come.
Yeah, no, like, yeah, I'll definitely add on that, Roman, because that's like pretty much like one of mine as well. But like Roman was saying, like kind of slow down and enjoy the process. I think just too many times, like back in the day, when it comes to like starting out, like especially like the powerlifting movements, there was a lot of part of me that I would do jumps that were pretty crazy, like within like weight. I would probably just like slow it down and then just make sure everything's locked in. And then also to Roman's part, to like taking things slow, I would also probably add more like full range of motion movements to like my training. I just think there's so much out of it, and especially if you come at like this at like looking the best and feeling the best, and being as strong as possible. I think full range of motion is going to help you get there, especially like something like simple as going as low as possible, getting the ankle mobility to do a full range of motion on a hack squat, which I posted a picture when this comes out, like probably like 2-3 days ago, and pretty much like I got my ankle mobility built back up where I can go fully down and pretty much touch my hamstrings to my calves. So I'd probably start there when it comes to like training at like a newer late age like lifter and a younger lifter, because I think there's a lot to say about that. Obviously, if you're going into powerlifting, you don't need to like make sure you go ass to grass when it comes to like the squat per se. But I think overall, if like you're trying to build your muscles, the biggest, largest, strongest, I like that method of training. So I think I probably would have started there and, was able to keep controlling that weight over time. So when I got to like the 300-pound squat, I could still do it ass to grass for a couple of reps, compared to like now I can't do it probably even parallel right now, but also it's because of my shoulder issue. I'm not really training so hard for that right now. But I just wanted to add that on there, Roman. But what I wanted to add was kind of a different, I wanted to add something different that like, some people typically might not say, but honestly, with this past year, like with like everything going on with like my shoulder, I think I would probably tell my younger self to add more yoga slash like intense stretching sessions. Um, I can't tell you. I mean, I've been doing yoga sessions for 2 to 3 days a week now, and I can't tell you how much it's like helped. I've been watching a lot more Juji Mufu lately, and yes, the believe me, like he's like like an anomaly, a nominal whatever. But like he's like rare. He's like a rare case because like he's mostly flexible in places that I will never be. But he pretty much stresses like if you do like that type of training with like stretching, intense stretching slash like yoga or getting in those positions, it helps a lot when it comes to like movements. And also too, like I realized like I probably should have did this a lot earlier with the powerlifting movements because a lot of times, some people might say it, but once you get into a lot of the powerlifting movements, you just become like tight over time. You just get a lot of scar tissue buildup, and it's just hard to like. I mean, Sam laughs at me all the time, but if I like try to touch both of my hands together behind my back, it's probably one of the furthest ones you've probably seen compared to anyone else. And I think that's just because of all like the muscle that's I built is also the scar tissue. But see, the thing is, if you neglect that for like such a long time, those are probably the consequences. And I think because like I'm doing the yoga 2 or 3 times a week, like I'm telling you right now, like my ankle mobility never felt much better. Like when I posted that video of me hack squatting, before I would have to honestly keep my heels a little bit higher on the hack squat machine just to get ass to grass. But now I'm able to track my knees a little bit more over my toes. And now I'm able to get in a better position for my quads, get more quad, hamstring, and glutes stretch in my hack squat. So I could build over a bit, bigger legs and a bigger core to get a bigger squat pretty much. So I think if I would have to tell myself like, hey, what's one thing I would start off with? I would incorporate it because like Roman said, start off small, don't like gradually get to the process because you're, training maybe 2-3 days a week when you first start off like lifting, to add a yoga session once or twice a week where it's like a pretty longer session, that's like nothing. Like, you could do a 20-30 minute yoga session in your apartment, in your house, outside, anywhere you want. So I mean, we pretty much do yoga sessions. We put it up. We put up our iPad on YouTube. We type in like, hey, if something we want to work on is our hip mobility, we put on like a 20-minute hip yoga stretch where it goes over the hip movement. So a lot of that times, like you could rehab, prehab, and also like just get in better positions at a younger lifting age compared to now, like someone like me that's been in the game for like 10 years now. So that's what I would tell myself, Roman. Let me know your thoughts on that. And then if you want to go on to like a next thing or next topic.
Yeah. At the bottom of my list on like, I've just been like writing my workouts on my phone recently just because it's like, I don't have to worry about like.
See, I told you that's the better method. You always brought your notebook, and I was like, dude, just do it on your notepad on your phone.
I do miss it because like I do like the physical tactile nature of like looking back and seeing. Whereas like now I'm like scrolling through to try and find it. So I'm like trying to code them in a certain way where I can like the progressions are like easy to do like session to session. But I would definitely say, so like at the bottom of my notes, it'll always say like cool down and stretch. And like that's something that like I totally blow by. Like I'll finish my last set and I'll like walk out of the gym. And I've definitely found that like it hurts me in like many ways. One is that like I can't get into like the type of positions that like I want to. So I'm going to have to be a whole lot more diligent about stretching in this like next program so that I can get into the types of positions that I'm hoping to get into to really build up the progressions. So that's absolutely the case. And it's so funny because it's not even like, it's not even just for like quad development, because that's like the one that most people will like point to for, being able to track your knees over your toes. You need to have like very like pliable calf muscles. Like your lower back has to be like pretty pliable too. Your hip mobility, so you can like open up your legs. I'll refer to Ed Cohn on that one for what he said. But like for shoulder movements too, man. Like I've been incorporating flies, and I'll just like really like hold the stretch out, like the on the eccentric. I'll just really like hold that stretch to develop the what do you call it? Just like that stretch feeling in the muscle, so that I like associate that with like the stretch, like a deep stretch for the muscle, which is like in and of itself is like hypertrophic and is like very damaging to the muscle too. Like that should be like said, but also to get it used to that sensation, so that it doesn't bring about like a sensation of like pain, but it brings about a sensation of just like stretch. And that's been like really crucial for being able to get into certain like pressing positions too, because one of my goals is to increase my pressing strength. So in doing so, you have to be able to get into that like very deeply like extended shoulder position. It has to be strong in that position too, so that you can press from a position of stability, mobility, and strength.
Yeah. I mean, it's in Roman. You said to get in a position, and I almost wanted to say, "Hey now," but I also was probably saying it too. But yeah, Roman, what's like one of the next things you'd probably kind of tell your younger self, buddy? What do we got?
Yeah, I think I did this like decently well, but I know some people are like afraid to kind of like mess around with different like exercises for a period of time. And I've worked out in a gym since, I first went to a gym when I was like 8 years old, so it's like over 20 years. I'd only consider myself like really dedicated to like the pursuit of bodybuilding for the past like coming up on 3 years in October. But this is also like the most that like I've learned, and like I've also strayed away from like program hopping and like really like dedicated myself to this, and I've learned a lot and like had a lot of fun in doing that. But I think it is important for like anybody that's like pursuing fitness to, unless like you're intensely focused on just like one area, which it also is like very okay. But if you feel like you have to like be intensely focused on one area, but you don't have the desire to be, I'd say jump around to different like pursuits and see like what kind of like sticks the most, or what like brings like the most like passion and fire to you. I've done a lot of different like physical pursuits in my life. So yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily like do it different for myself, because I think it all kind of came together and culminated how it like had to, or quote unquote was like meant to for me. And I love the way like it's all kind of come together, and like the beauty and like the love that I've like developed in bodybuilding. But yeah, I would definitely recommend to people to be open to trying out different like athletic endeavors, especially ones that are like very different when you're first starting. I think that like from an injury prevention standpoint, that's like highly effective to do like quote unquote cross training, where like you do like sprinting, where you do like skills type acquisition, dribbling a basketball, shooting a basketball, where you do like resistance exercise training. It's where you kind of like mix it up, as opposed to, I just do powerlifting and that's all I do and that's all I will ever do. If that's like your thing, that's totally fine. But if you think that needs to be your thing and it doesn't feel like it, like you're interested in it, but you're interested in other things, I would say definitely spend some time in pursuing those other things too. But then like I'll caveat that you can only spend so much time and focus and attention on one thing, or like multiple things. So maybe keep it to like 2 or 3 things at a time, and then do it for 3 to 6 months. And if the interest falls off for one of them, kind of kick it out and then insert like something else that you're interested in. You can try to do more than that, but if you're like a regular like working class stiff like Antoine and I, you run into constraints with time and like mental like acuity and mental like effort that you can dedicate to those. So you also have to be practical about that kind of thing. So is 3 like a hard and fast rule? No, that just seems to be something that's reasonable. If you feel like you can fit in 4 or 5 plus things, like go for it. But I think you would run into some like practical issues with like skill acquisition, and that's part of like the beauty of having like a couple things that you're working on is if you're dedicating a considerable amount of time to a couple of different things at a time, or just like one thing at a time, if that's your thing, you'll get to that skill acquisition much quicker, and you'll feel the development of competence, which will give you confidence.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, that's what I'm dealing with right now. Like, I can't really do a lot of powerlifting movements because, I'm going to lay it off because of my shoulder. But, I did bodybuilding competitions before, and like I love bodybuilding and powerlifting, but like just because I can't do bench press and like deadlift right now because I'm trying not to like risk anything else right now. But like, hey, if I could throw down on like some legs and do as many reps as I can and feel the pump, like I love it either way. So it's like, I'm one of those that like, I can pretty much like fall in love with powerlifting or bodybuilding, but that's a good point, Roman. Like, like I would say like, I would try as much things as possible. Like I remember like when I first started out, I would write down like the lifts I can do. And then I pretty much would like the next month later, like I'd do them for like 3-4 weeks. And then I'd find something that's pretty much equivalent to that. Like either if it's a machine, ropes, or like dumbbells, like free weight or barbell, I would do something close to that and see how I would recover from it, how it feel, and like kind of go from there. And I know like Mike Israetel kind of points that out a lot. Like if you can hit a muscle without a lot of joint stress and you like it internally, like do that. Like do that as much as possible. Like if you like the standard bicep curl or seated bicep curl and that's the best thing for your biceps, do that. Like, and I don't think a lot of people do that. They're just like, man, I have to do bench for chest. I have to do standing curls for biceps. No, you don't. Like you could do rope curls with a straight bar. You could do rope curls with a single handle. And, if you get a good stretch like that, that's totally fine. You could do them with easy curl bar. And I know we've talked about this before, but that's pretty cool. Because we're probably going to run out of time here. The last thing I wanted to say, because there's probably so many Roman and I can kind of go over. Honestly, one thing, and this is going to be like something that we've maybe talked about, but like for me, what I would honestly did if I had the money. So if like maybe you're in your adult life and you're starting this, like you seriously start and want to lift, like maybe you went to the doctors and you found out you're starting to get unhealthy because you're sedentary. Maybe you're an adult and maybe you did a high school sport, but you never really worked out after like college. Maybe if I started then, I'd probably be able to do this more often than not. But if I had the money when I was in high school, I honestly probably would have hired a coach or a personal trainer first, because what seems to happen is, obviously with like learning from doing a lot of mistakes and, learning from a lot of like educational people like Mike Israetel, Mark Bell, like all the people in fitness. But like, if I had the money, like because we started lifting in our teens, it's hard to have like money, like where you could just go out and just spend money. But I would have loved to have a coach or like a trainer, because I typically like to pull a lot of knowledge from people. Like when Roman and I were in the office, like I would just keep asking Roman questions about like every little thing about work or like working out. And until I could pull all the information I need to make myself either a better employee or a trainer or a person that's working out. So I think that's like really good advice. Like, because if you are an adult, and I know more adults are better off than like teenagers, unless like your parents could, pay for it. I think getting that coach or trainer will allow you to become a little bit more knowledgeable. And also too, what's nice about a good trainer, and I say good trainer because I know a lot of them are bad and a lot of them are good. A lot of those trainers, we're going to, like Roman and I, they will give you as much information as possible, either free or at a charge. and you can take that knowledge and learn about it and then move forward. So that's like probably what's one thing that Roman and I have probably done good over the time. Obviously once the internet was a little bit better with like YouTube, Instagram, like educational like documents, like we were able to read those, listen to those, watch those, and pretty much put it into our training. So when you're younger, it would be nice to have that person or a team, and you'd be able to learn. And then in the future, you'll get to that point where it's like, hey, I know like this was like something that I liked. This is something I didn't like. I'm going to keep moving forward with this or not move forward with that. So it's like something that that's like one of the last things I wanted to say. And then yeah. Roman?
I like it, buddy. I love it. It's perfect.
Yeah, I think it's just something that, and also too, it kind of allows you to like be off hands, but also if you take that information and put it to your future lifting career or lifestyle career, whatever you want to call it, I think you could succeed a lot from that stuff. So
yeah, definitely learning from somebody that's like kind of been there, done it. You'll be able to navigate the things that they help you to navigate away from, and they'll be able to point and steer you in a direction that should help you achieve your goal or your goals sooner, because they'll help you be able to navigate those pitfalls.
Yeah, and also too, like I was just thinking about that as you were talking, but like once you're in a gym, everyone's pretty cool with like helping and like teaching and like also like talking. Like Sam hates it, but I think I've gotten like 2 or 3 dudes' numbers from the gym that we went to now, because I just like I don't know how to shut my mouth, and I also that's like one of my skills, but maybe a downfall. But like if you're someone newer in the gym, like talk to those people that look pretty healthy and that are in shape, and you see them getting stronger and stronger every day, because some people might teach you something. Like Roman and I do that constantly today. And we've been lifting, like I said, over 10 years. So I can't add any more. I think, honestly, when I used to go to an old school gym, yeah, a lot of them weren't natty. Yeah, I saw syringes in the locker room, but some of those guys and girls were just like so like good at lifting and eating. Like you just talk to them and you just ask them like, hey, what's your typical meal regime? And then they're like, oh, well, I like to eat almonds and cottage cheese for breakfast, chicken and rice for lunch, and then and like stuff like that. Like you don't need a handbook, but you can ask around, and like I said, try it. If you don't like it, don't use it, or if you like some of it, use some of it, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, but I think that's it, guys. We'll see you guys on the next one. Make sure to like us on YouTube, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, message us, email us if you have any questions, leave concerns in the comments, or if you want to see something else. And we'll see you guys on that next one. Peace.